Hi, guys, and welcome to the Women's Health Summit, where you're gaining clarity so you can lead with confidence and finally turn your passion into profit. I'm Laura Sherrill, a high-performance women's health coach and the founder of Balance Bombshells, and today I'm here with Alyssa, who is a money empowerment coach, and she helps busy bee fempreneurs, help me with that one, simplify their finances so they can save more, invest more, and pay cash for the big stuff. Welcome, Alyssa.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
I know. I'm so pumped you're here because money talk, it is always such a hot topic, especially as we're getting started or we're looking to expand. So thank you so much for joining me and being able to share all of your knowledge. I'm so pumped. The first question I love asking women is how you got started in your business and why.
I love that question. So I originally went to get my certification as a life coach, and that happened because I really believe in signs. I'm super woo-woo. You guys will see during this conversation.
Same here.
And I had 3 people tell me in one weekend that I should be a life coach, and I didn't know what that was. I had always said I want to be a therapist, but I feel like I'd cross so many boundaries. Like I'd be like, oh, you need me? Like, do you want to like come have a sleepover at my house? Like it would be so inappropriate. So
because you're very open. I always just love watching you on Instagram, and I'm like, this girl is so open. I remember watching one of your stories where you read your old journal entries from when you were a kid. Like it was awesome. Like you're like Alyssa gets into it. So okay, keep going.
I do. Follow me on Instagram, Wealth with Alyssa. So I had these 3 people tell me that I should be a life coach, and I was like, what is this? And I looked into it and I was like, oh my God, it's like everything I ever wanted. So I went to do an 8-month certification, and then coming out of it, I had a couple people who were like, hey, I know that you like put 20% down on your house, so you're paying for your husband's schooling, like, and I was doing it all while at my corporate job. And they're like, can you life coach me on money? So I started doing that, and then it just spread because through doing it, I've realized that no one is talking to women about money, and no one's normalizing women talking about money. Like men can talk about raises and promotions and going after their dreams, but women, it's kind of, there's this underlying theme of like, go after your dreams, but only if it's convenient to like your partner, and like, don't let it get in the way of you being like a mom. And so I'm like, no one is educating women about this. And so it really just kind of blossomed. Like my clients started telling their friends and then their friends. And then before I knew it, my schedule was like on a wait list to work with me.
That's awesome. And I love how you just like listen to all of that, because I think that's at least every entrepreneur I've talked to, like we feel guided in what you're doing. Like I rejected hormones for a very long time. I did not understand where those things were, like those pushes were coming, but I had a lot of girlfriends sending me links to health coach websites, and they're like, I think you should do this. And I'm like, oh, well, that makes sense because I talk about health and like how to use your food and your fitness for high performance, but I didn't even understand the time I was hacking my hormones. Like I had no idea. So I just love that you follow.
Like hormone queen.
Which is weird because if you had seen me like 4 years ago, I was hiding from it. I felt so ashamed of talking about it because it's such a taboo topic, kind of like money. And then even when I started talking about it, balancing your hormones is not a sexy sell. No, like it is. People, I would test out my elevator pitch at parties, and I would notice people shut down, and I was like, okay, don't use those words. That's not sexy. But when we talk about hormones, like how can we hack our bodies to get what we want? Women were like, oh, cool. Like, tell me more about that. So it's just so interesting of how you listen to the signs. It brings you to where you are. And then you just start noticing that the universe just kind of starts responding around that.
And being able to build a big business just based on signs from the universe, how can you not believe? How can you not be woo-woo?
Yeah.
Like the universe, for all of us, the universe is sending us messages constantly. It could be that, you have 3 friends who mentioned something to you in one weekend. It could be that you keep stumbling upon these articles. It could be that you keep hearing from people, you're the only person who's ever made me really understand the importance of like my hormones and how it affects my body and my health and my happiness. So when you get all these messages and it shows you what direction to go in, and then that ends up being something that you're super excited about and is lucrative,
right,
you start really paying attention to things like angel numbers. And if you guys aren't into angel numbers, all
oh
it
my
is.
gosh. Yeah, go ahead. I'm obsessed. Go ahead.
So if you keep seeing numbers like 1111 or 1234, just all you have to do is search that number and then angel number, like 1111 angel number, and read what it means. So angels and the universe are trying to send you messages, but they can't use like human language. So they'll use numbers which mean different things to send you messages. So if you notice, hey, I keep seeing 444, look that up. If you see 888, that means money's coming your way. It can be a sign of abundance. So yeah, Laura, I know we could go like so woo-woo with this.
Well, because we're talking to entrepreneurs, can I share my biggest angel number story that I actually don't usually share, but I want to tell you because I think you're going to pee your pants.
Okay. Yes. I'm already.
Okay. And it has to do with business and knowing you're on the right path and when it's time to like take a huge leap, even when you can't explain what's going to happen and you're scared shitless.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. So I set the intention. I worked on Balanced Bombshells for a full year in my full-time job before leaving. And I remember just thinking and setting the intention early on, I'm not going to stress about when it's time to leave. I'm going to know when it's time because I'm going to have signs telling me. And then that's it. 4th of July, almost 3 years ago, I had been in business for like almost a year. I went on a girls' getaway, and I remember I was becoming a moody bitch at work. Like I was like, man, I'm noticing that I'm not censoring myself as much. They're going to end up firing me because I'm being a little too sassy. I mean, like not really, but in my mind, I'm like, this isn't happy-go-lucky Laura that they're used to. And I could just tell I was getting really irritable because all I wanted to do was talk about women's health, and I didn't want to do fundraising anymore. So I talked to my then boyfriend, now husband, and I was like, I think it's almost time for me to leave. Like, I'm just feeling like I'm not really feeling good in this space anymore. So the Friday before I left to go on that girls trip, I wrote out my resignation letter on Google Docs on my computer. And I'm just like, I'm just going to draft it out. This feels good right now. I'm going to draft it out. That weekend, we were driving around. We went to Carmel and Monterey, which is in like southern San Francisco. And everywhere all weekend, I was seeing 111, 222, 333, 444, 555, like all of the angel numbers in major sequences, all in in the same categories everywhere I went. And I was like, I think it's time to leave work. Like, I was like, I think this is it. I think it was like the universe just in my face being like, if this is the push you need, I know you can't see what's going to happen. Like, just jump. There's going to be a net. We're there to catch you. That Tuesday, because it was a long weekend, I went in and gave my notice and I left work. And I was just like, it was all the angel numbers, like literally in my face communicating. And then to do the kicker, on my phone that I had for 5 years, I picked up the phone to like call someone. And this is a sticker that was on it for 5 years that I never actually looked at it and understood. 555-55, like 5 5s in a row. And 5s are like, hold on, shit's about to get real. Like, just prepare yourself because life's about to happen. So that's my angel number stories as relates to business and knowing when the universe is there to catch you, even when you can't explain it. And yeah, that's how I left my job. That's how I knew it was time to leave. So
that's amazing. That's so fucking exciting. And what's even crazier is my story of leaving my job is almost the exact same as yours.
Oh my gosh. I'm like peeing my pants right now.
Oh my gosh.
Same
it's
thing.
Crazy. So yeah, like I was kind of feeling the same way. I was like, I'm getting really annoyed at my job, and I liked it before, but it wasn't like fulfilling. I liked the people I was with, but I was like, do I want to do this forever? And I was at work and I kept seeing, it was like anytime I could have seen an angel number, I did. Anytime I looked at the clock, it was an angel number. And then it was at the end of the day and I'm writing up my report. It was on a Friday. I remember I was writing my report for the week, reflecting, and I was in sales. I had sold $111,000 that week. I had contacted 111 people, and it was 5:55 when I was writing it. And it was like the 5th of the month too. And I saw that I went to check my phone and my phone was at 54%, but it was charging. And I was like, okay, if this becomes 55% charged before 5:55 ends, I'm quitting my job. And so I just like watched it, and within 10 seconds it changed to 55% at, you know, on the 5th of the month at 5:55. And I was like, oh my God,
Yeah, it's
I have to do it. And I remember calling my friend and being like, should I do this? And she was like, if I told you not to do it, what would you feel? And I was like, well, I'd be really sad. She was like, well, then there you go, do it. So I
that's
put
your
in my
heart.
resignation the next week.
Yeah. I love it. And like, I actually never share that story. I don't know why. I probably should open up more about my belief on angel numbers, because they actually drive so much of my work like, as an entrepreneur, and they give me so much faith. So yeah, I love being able to like geek out about angel numbers, but
yeah. And there's gonna be someone who listens to this who's like, oh my God, I had the same experience.
Yeah.
It's
And
crazy. It's wild. We had this, like almost the exact same one.
I felt pushed. Like I was seeing the numbers on the clock. I was seeing it on like housing numbers as we were just driving all weekend.
That's another thing, because naysayers are going to be like, oh, well, if you know it's 1:10 and you just keep staring at the clock, it's eventually going to be 1:11. I'm like, no. Yeah. I'm talking like you're like driving behind a car that their license plate numbers are like 1111, and then you pass a house where their numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4. Like you're constantly seeing it in all these different scenarios.
And then we each individually have our own number sequences. So for me, 9/11 shows up a lot, and 9/21. So 9/21 is my birthday, and I catch it on the clock literally every day, twice a day, most days of the week. I see 9/21 I'm never looking out for it. It just always shows up.
Right.
And then when Tyler and I were moving to from San Francisco to San Diego, there was a lot of like, is this right for us? Is this the right move? Like, we don't really know. We came down to tour apartments, and as we were leaving the airport, the bus in front of me, their license plate said 9/21. So 9/21 for me is you're on the right path. Like it's a constant thing. You're on the right path. Don't doubt, you're on the correct path. So we ended up moving to San Diego. Guess what the 3 numbers are that starts our zip code?
Stop.
9/21. I kid you not. And I'm just like, I guess San Diego's correct. So even though I'm like having those doubts, I'm having those fears, it's always confirmed you are in the right space. Don't fight it. You're here for a reason. Like literally just, it's those moments where you just feel so deeply connected and in tune and just on purpose.
And so safe. Like, I can't tell you the safety I feel in knowing that like, it's not just me trying to figure this out. Like my like angels or the universe, whatever you want to call it, they're protecting me, and they're letting me know when I'm questioning it. Like the answers are always there. Just, are you going to pay attention to them, or are you going to be like, oh, okay, well, that's a 500th angel number I've seen, but like, it's probably a coincidence.
Right. It's not. It's like literally just Google it and just have like allow those words to rush over you, and just even start picking up on the number sequences that you personally see all the time and Googling that, because it's going to have a very specific connection to you and a very specific meaning as why.
Yeah. I need to do an episode on the Wealthy Fempreneur podcast about like all my friends who have had like cool angel number stories and talk about it. Cause like, if you hear like 6 of those in a row, you're going to be like, how can I deny that?
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So back to money. What are the major blocks from like money blocks that you notice female entrepreneurs have?
Unfortunately, there's so many, because culturally we're taught that like our needs come after everyone else is taken care of. Mm-hmm. And women are so maternal, obviously, that's kind of like natural for us to fall into that. Even if we fundamentally are like, oh, that sucks, like I want to go after my dreams, we'll still kind of do that anyway. So there's a ton of money. The most common money blocks, let me just go through those. One is that a lot of the time growing up, our parents teach us wrong things about money. And as we grow up, we start to realize like, oh, they were just like making it up. Like we're all just trying to do our best and figure it out. But when you're little, you take it as fact because you don't have anything to compare it to. So we have these blocks that were created by our parents. So a really good thing you can do, since we all have our own, and I could list off 1,000 right now, would be to go build a timeline of your life, and what are the things throughout your life you remember people saying, like 4 years old, you want to be a ballerina, and your grandparents are like, you have a 1 in 1,000 chance you're going to make it. Maybe you should just, be a school teacher. or, you know, insert the thing, money doesn't grow on trees.
Yeah.
What are the things we're hearing that we've just, as a kid, we've just taken as fact, and we really need to dig into them, and journaling's a great thing to do to kind of undo that. But when you asked about the primary money blocks, it's funny because I just did an episode on my podcast about the 5 money fears. And I think all the money blocks fall into those. So there's the fear of making money. And that's, you know, like that's based in a lack of worthiness. There's the fear of holding money, which is when you don't feel in alignment with your money. So you spend it or give it away or make just not smart choices with it. That's a very common thing. When people start to make money, they feel like they need to use it all to invest in a coach versus using some of it for that and some of it for other things. There's the fear of lack. And that's because we're programmed to never think that we have enough. Culturally, we see like 1,000 ads a day.
Right. Oh my God. Yeah. We can get into the advertising later, but yeah.
I used to work in advertising too. And it's cool because you have all these things in your life that kind of seem irrelevant. You know, the fact that I used to work for a nonprofit and the fact that I have a degree in advertising, and then you start to it all starts to come together as oh my gosh, I needed to have this unique set of skills to help other women get through this.
Yeah.
But then the last 2 are fear of selling, which is usually your ego's getting in the way.
Yeah.
Or you're looking at it as it's selfish because you're asking people for money, but in actuality it's selfish to keep. If you have a way to fix someone's problem, it's selfish to keep that to yourself. And then the last one is fear of investing. So that's usually coming from someone who invested in a way that didn't work out well for them. So if you guys want to hear about that, my podcast is called The Wealthy Fempreneur, and it just came out.
I can use the link below too.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. It's episode 22.
Okay. Yeah. I think that would be a great listen because I feel like money mindset. So I worked in professional fundraising. So it sounds like you were a nonprofit too. But I came from a standpoint of high level fundraising. So there's high level fundraising, and then there's grassroots fundraising, which grassroots is we're going to discount everything. We're going to be in your face constantly. We're going to be going basically door to door, or all of the mailings that they do. And I'm ooh, you just get a little bit, you don't ever build basically wealth within the organization. So it kind of sounds like you help women undo those blocks too that we associate around money and lack, and
yes,
you just have to
so much of what I do is mindset, because when you get to a place where you feel safe talking about money, you realize that you actually know what to do with your money. You don't need 6 months of guidance from me on exactly what to do when you get a paycheck. You'll be oh my God, wait, actually, no, I just never had a safe space to talk about it. It's the mindset that'll just keep coming up in different ways until you really solve it. So yeah, being aware and then talking about it and creating a safe space for other people to talk about it around you will help you work through it too.
Right. I think it helps too, because in the coaching industry, I mean, we do have to be very objective in our thinking of what type of messages we're consuming, whether you're responding to someone's ad or whether you see a business coach or something posting on something on Instagram. It can kind of make you doubt, but you have to understand what their intentions are either with that post, or understand this person is not in alignment with my true beliefs. Because I truly believe that women naturally know how to sell, but we are being bombarded with all these messages, especially as entrepreneurs, especially as women, that are literally subconsciously getting into our mindset to make us doubt ourselves so that we'll buy their product. Which I can't. Yeah.
Yes, I 100% agree. And I think that's going to be the next uprising, is people who are fuck all the coaches who are telling us that we can't do without them, and it has to be this way. And then there's these coaches who are triple, one of my coaches made me quadruple my prices, and it didn't feel in alignment with me. So I didn't sell anything for months.
Yeah. If it's not in alignment with you, it's not, if it doesn't feel good for you, it's not going to feel good for them, because women, we naturally understand emotions, and if it doesn't feel good to us, how could it ever feel good to the other person? They're going to subconsciously pick up on that.
Exactly. And if you're oh, okay, well, let's say you were charging $250 a month, and they're no coaches should charge less than $1,000, which, while I agree with that, I do, I would never tell someone that they need to charge that much, because if you feel weird about it, you're going to be like, but I'm going to do 50% off because I like you. It's like,
right. Oh, so yeah, it always brings me, and I'm so grateful from now my experience in fundraising, because I actually came from the standpoint where you don't discount things. So it really taught me how to
offer more
understand
value. If you need anything,
worth.
offer, people listening, offer more value before you discount.
Correct.
So if someone is like, I really want to double my prices, we're going to work on mindset, but we're also going to work on what could you offer them?
Right.
Could you offer them a group call? Could you offer them some kind of download, access to a course, some kind of retreat? What can you do to make it worth that, in your mind, worth that amount?
Correct. Because usually people end up, and I've noticed it because I used to do a lot of events and event marketing, particularly with like corporate marketing. So like you could literally set a package around anything, set a really high ticket price, but they're paying for the value and what they're getting. So they're not going to pay you. When they're caving over their money to you, they're not going to be worrying about the 12 calls they get from you. They're going to be worrying about the added value that you're bringing to them, on whether it's extras, whether it's like you really hit home the value in which like they're going to be having. And like, that's what we focus on as a value. And women naturally know how to do that. We're just constantly being in doubt with ourselves. And then I always ask women where they are in their cycles, because we naturally have parts that make us self-doubt more than other parts of the month. So if it's predictable, you can think more objectively, call yourself on your bullshit, and then be able to like move through that.
Whoa. So what part of the month are you most self-conscious about your abilities?
The week before your period.
Ooh.
Yeah. So hormonally, what happens, and the science around it, is our brain, we naturally dip in serotonin, which is one of our feel-good hormones. And it makes us less self-confident. It makes us nitpick ourselves and our lives and our people. So if you ever think of women being like really naggy, she's most likely about to be getting her period. So it's very hormonal in our brain chemistry. So there's certainly foods that you can eat to help increase serotonin, but there's also a lot of mindset work you have to do of understanding, hey, I recognize that I'm going to start doubting myself right now, but how can I use this to really question what's working in my life and what's not? So that's actually the power of our period, is our brain hemispheres become the most aligned when we're having our period. And if you notice, like, I don't know if this happens to you, where you start really picking apart your life and you're just like, oh my gosh, I am meant to be in California, or, oh my gosh, I'm not supposed to be with this guy. He's so annoying. I can't stand this. All those little frustrations are guiding us to pinpoint what's working and what's not. Maybe you haven't had the conversation with your partner that you need to have. Maybe you're getting super frustrated at work. I used to have terrible PMS while I was in my job because I wasn't saying yes to being the entrepreneur that I wanted to be. And so I'm like, oh my God, I'm using my cycle to not only, it's like super woo-woo, but guiding me to make the right choices for me, because our bodies, just like our mind, are constantly driving us.
Oh my gosh, I need to connect you with one of my clients who's like a pussy power coach. I can just see you guys doing so well together, because it like she's always talking about like the womb and stuff, and like I have gotten so far without any of that knowledge, and I'm recognizing that like not having that knowledge is stopping me from hitting the next level. And so like we can deny all we want that you need like the whole like understanding your cycle and your hormones and your feminine power.
Yeah.
And one of the things she's really helped me see is that I need to bring femininity into wealth.
Yes. Yes. Because like I have noticed that the only way I was able to keep my body balanced is by balancing my masculine and feminine energy. I'm super type A, so I'm naturally going to be more dominant in the masculine energy part, but it actually bled into my body, my sense of self, my self-confidence, basically ignoring the signs my body was always giving me to either slow down, celebrate myself, take a break. Because we can easily push past those blocks basically, but our feminine power is like, no, you're meant to be fluid. You're meant to be in this space.
Okay.
But you might notice it the most as you're getting your period, and you might notice like some resistance, some more anger and aggression. Certainly there's ways naturally that we can like break that up with like exercise and food. And I think you saw my I did a video on jumping on the trampoline, the mini rebounder. Because it helps break up our lymphatic system, which gets our blood flowing and helps like release toxins, which helps your mind and, you know, all that stuff. So there's just so many things that you can do to break that up, but we don't ever know what that is unless we're a little bit more strategic with our cycles and kind of understand the tools that we have available to us. So I love that she's helping you bring more of your femininity into wealth, because women have that natural ability.
We're so powerful. And that's one of the things she said. This is another thing I keep getting from the universe. Like my psychic said it, another person I know who's also has psychic abilities, and I call her my pussy power coach. But all three of them were like, Alyssa, like you're meant to like bring pussy power, like especially relating to wealth, but like make it mainstream, because they need people like you and me. The world needs people like you and me who aren't so woo-woo that we're not able to like really communicate, you know, like I love those high level people, but sometimes the average person doesn't understand things like quantum, like words like quantum, you know, it's overwhelming to them. So to hear like these little snippets of like, no, like step into your power, like you're fucking powerful. You literally can create life. That's amazing.
But yeah, and just understanding your phases. And I really appreciated understanding the brain chemistry, because our brains shift each week. And so understanding that gave me,
I can talk about this for hours.
Yeah. It gives you such a better sense of awareness. So like, have you ever heard of body dysmorphia? Like when you look in the mirror and you see yourself as bigger or different. So serotonin actually drives that, and body dysmorphia is a PMS symptom that happens in most women, but doctors don't think to ask about it, because a woman being dissatisfied with her appearance and herself is become so common that it's just normal. And it's like, no, actually that's our body talking to us that we need to tune more into ourselves. We need to understand and ask ourselves the big and hard questions. Am I living the life that I want to? Am I doing the projects that I want to? You can even use it in your business. Like, what worked this month that was really great? What didn't feel good? And like dive into that, because it's an opportunity that your brain will actually help you connect to why that is and help you like pivot for the month ahead. Is being too kind of like the masculine energy, we can get too rigid in like, no, this is what we set forward, this is how it has to be. Where, you know, as an entrepreneur, if you don't flow and if you don't pivot, shit is not going to work out, like at all. And your body, you have that opportunity every single month to kind of flow with that. So this might just be another message from the universe. How can you be using more of your cycle in your work? And it's just, I mean, obviously it's changed my life, but it's just so fascinating of how our bodies are set up.
For real, I could dig into this for hours, especially because as someone with an IUD, I think it messes with your cycle.
Yeah.
So I'm very interested in getting it out, because I'm like, I want to be in touch with that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
We could go on this forever, but I know you had like certain.
I have a few other questions. But yeah, I'm curious if you end up getting the IUD out, because it basically blocks like ovulation, and like it kind of makes your body in like unhospitable for an egg, basically, which is why you would then not get pregnant.
Which is like a deal for me right now, frankly.
Correct. And like, that's fine. But I mean, I was on the pill for 9 years and I felt 10 times better being off the pill. And I just didn't understand at the time how to flow with my body. And because all of those symptoms that I had beforehand came back. But if you're starting to feel called to like take it out, just kind of even listen to that, because you'll be even more in tune with your business, your work, yourself, your clients, because you have that natural ability as a woman. I'm not opposed to using it or not, but it's like, it's all of what's right for you. And some women don't do well on these things. Some people do. I personally did not.
Okay. Yes.
I also lost 10 pounds being off of it. So
that was not my case. Well, I did birth control from like, I was getting my period every 2 weeks when I was 14. So I was like, can I get on birth control? And my mom wasn't even like worried about like me having sex or anything. She wasn't like, oh, no, like you can't do that. She was like, damn, like you're pretty much PMS every other week. That's really unfortunate for me to have a teenager that's like that. Yeah. So she put me on it, and then I was on it, for like 6 or 7 years straight. And then I went off of it for like 3 years, and then I got my IUD. So now I don't know. Yes,
yeah,
I could keep going about this.
Every woman's body like responds to it differently. But I know you have, I wanted to bring this up because I know it relates so much to your brand and your work and everything that you do. But tell us about bees. You've got this thing about bees in your business. Tell us how this relates to money and our mindset and wealth creation.
Okay, so the bee thing started like a couple years ago. I didn't really think about bees, frankly. I'd seen a bee movie and I was like, oh, okay, they matter. Like they create like 70% of our food. But I had this client who during one of her calls, she was like, this bee keeps following me and it keeps landing on me and it's not stinging me or anything. It's just like I keep moving and it's following me. And we looked it up and it means money's coming your way. And the next day she had like the most insane series of things happen. Like her uncle called her and was like, I want to pay for all of your books every semester for the rest of college for you.
Oh, that's so nice. Day, yeah.
She got a raise and a promotion at work and she got like a check, like some kind of refund check from like a doctor like 2 years before that they were like, hey, we realized you paid us too much. So she had like, it was like $5,000 cumulative of changes in her life in one day. And it just got me started to like look into it. And so I really felt drawn to bees because for so many reasons, but one of them is that bees' whole theory is that you collect your pollen, you do your work, and you make little bits of progress every day. Every single day. And that's how money is. Like, you're not going to just wake up and be like, I'm a millionaire, but you're getting closer. You're working on your mindset. You're accumulating money. You're amassing wealth through working on that every day. And that's just like the bee's whole vibe. And then on top of that, they have like these fat little bodies and these tiny little wings. And what is it called? I can't remember like aeronautically, that's not the right word, but like it shouldn't make sense that they can fly because they have fat bodies and little wings, but they do because it doesn't matter to them what is or is not possible. They're just going to do it anyway. And I really like love that and latch onto that because that's what I want the women who work with me to see is that like, it doesn't matter if everyone around you is like, oh, staying in corporate life is the safe thing. If you want to have your own business, you can absolutely do it.
Right.
So yeah, I have a whole episode. It's like 15 minutes maybe on the podcast. Mm-hmm. I think it's episode 6, but it's all about like bees and how they mean money and then how we can stop them from going extinct because we've killed off 90% of the bee population and they make 70% of our food.
Right. And like, I always do raw honey, like either in some baked goods, but I always mix it with like apple cider vinegar because like the raw honey has like the natural enzymes that we need for like digestion and all that stuff. And it actually like, it like cleanses your stomach. So it like actually gets rid of a lot of the bacteria or toxins that it might have built up. And like, that's obviously from bees. It's like the purest form of honey that they create. Versus going through like a process state, which kind of strips out those enzymes. So health-wise, I'm like obsessed with bees and like what they produce, but also very understanding that they mean so much. So I just loved your symbolism of like, so I went for a walk, it must have been like last week, and I started noticing a lot of bees around me, but kind of like how your friend was like, oh, they're not landing on me. They're just like hovering around me, which happens a lot. So that's really interesting.
And on you, it especially means money's coming your way. Or if like a bee comes in your house, do not kill the bee. Capture it, put it outside.
Okay. Yeah. I can't say I've like killed them. We did have an infestation about a year ago in our place. They like came through the screens, but they weren't flying in the home. They were staying by the door, and there was a nest that got created like on the top of our balcony. So it's like, okay, that makes sense. But now I understand, welcome them. Don't be fearful of them.
And the bees die if they sting you. So bees don't take lightly to stinging it. I think a lot of people are like, oh, I'm in danger. And it's like, a bee's not going to just come land on you and sting you. There's no world where they do that. And that's been really freeing for me because I used to be kind of scared of, I think everyone was.
Of course. Yeah.
When I was little, I got stung. It scared me. Yeah. And then as I've gotten older, I'm like, I walked through this swarm of bees this morning and I was like, yes.
What happens if it does sting you? Is that like good juju or bad juju?
I don't know. I haven't done that research because I know that if bees sting you, they die. So the chances that they'll
Right.
sting you are very, very low.
Okay.
So I would assume if a bee's stinging you, like, what are you doing to?
Yeah, you might be tense, you might be fearful. Like,
I
I'm just
don't know.
imagining they're getting fearful too, and that's how they kind of react or try to protect themselves, and then they end up stinging you.
Right. Right. But I've only ever heard of bees stinging people when the person is like touching the bee.
Yeah. Okay. So what would you say to like a new entrepreneur or an entrepreneur that's been looking to expand about the fear about investing in their business?
Ooh. So if you're scared to invest, you gotta have to push through it. I mean, I think you can do everything on your own. We all DIY in the beginning. We're all like, oh, let me just try this and I'll figure it out. That was me. I was like,
Yeah.
I want to understand everything in my business. I don't want to hand it over to someone. And then like, if they leave, I'm kind of screwed. And what I've realized is that you add so many years onto how much time it's going to take you to be successful if you're unwilling to get help and, more importantly, guidance. It's not just hiring your sister because they need a job. It's having someone who has been through this. I kind of look at it as like they've gone through the maze and they're like, hey, I'm at the end of the maze and you turn left here and you want to go right, but they're like, no, turn left. And they're helping you get through this maze. So I call it standing on the shoulders of giants, which is another podcast episode. It's so funny because like everything we've been talking about, I'm like, yes, I get these questions all the time. And so when I do, I put them into podcasts so you can get like a 15-minute download of like, here's what the problem is and here's how to fix it. But the year that I made an investment in my first mastermind, which was $10,000, I was making, it was like 2.5 times what I was making a month for that investment. So it was scary for sure. But the connections I made, the information I got, the way that my coach put me out there, like you hire a coach and then maybe they have you on their podcast, or she had me come up on stage at her event and I got like 4 new clients as a result. You make these connections and you grow and you have this person helping you through the maze. And I don't, this is another episode of my podcast. You can't make a bad investment.
Right.
Because you're learning. You're
Correct.
learning like, hey, I realized that, I bought this online course, and online courses are not my preferred method of learning. I really need a one-on-one person for the accountability. That's not a waste. You learned that lesson. Thank God you learned it now.
Right. And I think too, like there, especially with money, like even in our economy and the way that it works, everything is like a give and take type energy. So something we were talking about, like every time I've invested in my business, I end up making that money back literally within a week or two.
Yes.
So it's unbelievable. And like, so now that I'm married, ladies, like I was that person where like I never wanted to have those financial conversations with a man, because it's like, I'm my own person. I make my own money. I want to, like, if I want to do something, I'm going to do it. So thankfully we were not married when I was quitting my job, because that would have been annoying. But now that we're married, I have to, have those conversations with your partner. And he is now basically like a business partner in my business, which also is very helpful, but we have to have those money conversations. So now I use that as leverage whenever I'm like, he gets nervous of me spending money on something. And it's like, look, yeah, you can be nervous, but like, look at the proof of every single time we've invested in something, we make it back within like literally a week or two, whether it's a new client, whether the information has been seen somewhere different online that results in like a passive income from an online course that I have. Like this just literally comes about in those ways. So
yes. And so funny you mentioned that, because that is next week's podcast.
Awesome. We literally just teed it up for all of your podcasts. And this, honestly, guys, like this wasn't planned. I came up with these questions on my own and I didn't even look at your podcast. So like, this is great.
Well, I love how it works. Funny because like, it just shows me how universal our problems are. Yeah. The things that you and your clients are dealing with are the same things me and my clients are dealing with. And that's what hopefully what everyone's doing with their podcast is they're creating stuff based on the questions that they have. And so I just created this podcast episode on how to talk to your partner about investments and make them feel respected, while also drawing that boundary of like, ultimately, like, I know we share money in every other respect, but this is my business and I need to have a little bit more of a say than you do right now. And I need you to trust my judgment that I did my due diligence and I take this really seriously, and that this person that I want to hire is going to solve my primary problem that I'm facing right now. And it's going to help me make money or be more efficient or whatever it is. And it's ultimately going to make me happier.
Yeah.
And so I talked about like how to have that conversation. So if you need pointers,
and I love that you did that too, because I've definitely noticed, like, I'll end up with like client calls or like potential client calls, and they're like, all right, I have to talk to my husband. I'm like, of course, it's an investment. Like, you always want to make sure you're talking to your partner. And they'll end up saying no because their partner did, but it's like, they're clearly not communicating it, because then they're crying to me of how much they want to do it. They clearly want the help, but the money block is then being blocked from their partner who doesn't see the value. So how can a woman, like, that's when you really need to stand in your own truth and being like,
I
what
was
do
just
I
gonna
need?
say, like, I'm sad to say it like this, but that's victim mentality.
Correct.
Oh
And
my,
my
that's
point is
fine.
like,
Sorry.
no, go ahead. I was going to say, for me, it's like, if that's how they are, clearly you and I are not going to be well matched, because I actually don't take on women who are stuck in the victim mentality.
Yes.
If they need a lot of that mindset work and they're stuck down here, I need someone who's going to be up here for our work to actually work
ready
together.
to make a change. Right.
Yeah.
And like, that's something that I touched on in the podcast, is how to spot if this is actually financial abuse. Because if your partner says, no, we're not even talking about this. Mm-hmm. This is not happening. You're not spending the money. That's financial abuse. They're not having a conversation. They're not letting you feel heard. Obviously, you don't take it lightly to spend thousands of dollars. So why can't they at least hear you out and have a discussion about it? Whether they decide to do it right now or not is beside the point. It's financial abuse if someone's like, I know what's best for you. I know you had the conversations, you did the work, but I know what's best.
Right.
Sounds like, their partners.
Correct. Oh, for sure. And like, or it's like, how are you showing up in the relationship to not have your needs and your voice heard, where you're constantly caving to what somebody else wants you to do, which is I see it a lot in women all the time across like every sector. Like, women just naturally have that, I'm going to cave and nurture, and I don't want to rock the boat type thing, which is why I always work really well with women who are like, no, I know myself. I know that I need to do a little work, but I'm willing to dive into that and get uncomfortable. And there's a lot of women out there. So I know there's a lot of women listening to this, and that could be you in your life. And it's just, how can you be really firm and clear on what you want so that you can move your agenda forward? Because, and I'll always tell Tyler, especially when I was like first getting started, I'm like, I am so unhappy in my job. Do you want me every single day being unhappy? Or do you want happy Laura who's so excited and lit up by the work that she's doing? Which side do you want? Because right now, this, like, it's causing a wedge. Like, she's not great. She's not happy. This Laura is like super pumped. So like, it's, so I also know that you have a freebie that you're going to be giving access to everyone. So do you want to share the freebie that you'll be giving, which I'll give in the show notes as well?
Yeah. So it's journal prompts, because nothing is gonna show you the way faster than like talking to yourself about it. You're not gonna bullshit yourself. You're not gonna waste your own time by doing a journal prompt that like is a lie to yourself. So the one that I created is 5 journal prompts to blast money blocks. So I go through those different money blocks and how you can reframe your mindset.
I love that. That's awesome too. And like a pointer for women too, when they're trying to bust through blocks, the week before and during your period, doing those journal prompts would be like the best time of month to like work through that.
Then it's like a rebirth as you like shit.
You're cleansing. Yeah. Because having our periods is very cleansing. Yeah. You're getting it all out. You're literally getting it all out.
I love
Oh my gosh. I thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so pumped we were able to dive into like angel numbers and bees and just like money blocks and manifestation. I'm just so grateful that you decided to do this work and share it with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Laura. And it just felt so like divinely guided. How many things just like came out, like we didn't plan any of this, and it was just a good conversation that I think is going to help a lot of people. So I'm really excited. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you.